Okay, so as I mentioned, we are in the home stretch. And if we were in person, I would make you all stand up and do a little yoga. So if you want to just take a stretch or move your head, it's been a long day, but I think this has been a very good stretch. So this is a physical stretch. And I think that what I really kind of like to talk more about is more of a, I gotta, oh man. More of a intellectual stretch. So my favorite philosopher of life is Winnie the Pooh, and his favorite philosophy is think, think, think. So today we've had a workout. We're not quite at the cool down, but we're going to learn about how we use what we're learning. So let's just quickly review, how do we learn? And we do this by hear, see, do, and teach. So here, for today, you've taken a seminar, you're hearing some workshops, and this is one of the ways you do it. Another is see, you go to a meeting and you observe how people preside and follow the rules. And there's sometimes you learn good behavior and sometimes you learn bad behavior, what to do, what not to do. You can do and be an active member. You make motions, or you're presiding officer. And I think, like Robert said, sometimes it looks a lot easier than it actually is. And then finally, to really learn something, we need to teach. So when you're looking at Robert's Rules of Order, you want to teach and maybe set aside time at each meeting for a parliamentary tip, or begin your meeting with a tip. You might also want to consider having other people do it. They could research it, and then that way they can learn. So this does take time and practice. It's kind of exercise, you know, even parliamentary procedure does not come easy. So if you're a once-a-year runner doing a 5K, you might look something like this. But if you're a seasoned runner doing a 5K, you might look something like this. Now, I actually wanted to use my picture for the once-a-year runner because I really only do a 5K once a year. And at the end of it, every year, I vow that next year I'm going to train for it to be better prepared. But so far, I'm not. But like everything, it's always more fun when you're doing this with someone. So whether it's running or if it's with parliamentary procedure, the more that you practice using Robert's rules, the easier it gets, and the more fun it is to study together than alone. As Miriam mentioned, we took our parliamentary procedure tests together, and honestly, I don't think I would have made it through without her. So it was great. We both cried and we both celebrated at the end. So they're studying together, and in Minnesota, we have two options. Even if you're not from Minnesota, whether you're from Canada or from New Orleans or Oklahoma, you can join us through Zoom. Northern Lights is based in Minneapolis, and they meet the second Tuesday of the month, except for December, and they meet at 6:30 at night. They have an educational program as part of it. The St. Paul unit, based in St. Paul, meets on the morning. So we meet on the third Monday in the morning. We start 8:30 with the study session where we actually go through the questions that are on the test. And then we have our meeting that starts at 9:30, and there's always an educational program. So if you're ever interested in joining either of these, just to come in or do the programs, please, you can let Miriam know in her email. So this is another part. We've talked about the National Association of Parliamentarians, and the presenters are all members of this, as are most people. And part of the reason the National Association of Parliamentarians uses the authority of Robert's Rules of Order. Someone was asking about, they were asking about other authorities, like there are other associations that have different authorities, but the National Association of Parliamentarians does use RONR, and that's also used for most nonprofit organizations. You have to take a test to become a member, and then you can go on further for further credentials like a registered parliamentarian, or the top credential is the professional registered parliamentarian. So this is actually a QR code that would bring you to the study questions, and they would be for the ones that are found that are based, if you were going to take the test based on the Big Book, the 12th edition of RONR. There's also another one I'll show you a little later that has another reference for you. Maybe you like apps. So there are two apps. One is the iParly, and this was created by the Youth Council of the National Association of Parliamentarians. And that's kind of what it looks like. But it talks about, there's quizzes in there, real world applications, and other options like that. The next one that I'd like to mention is the NAP Mobile. And this is another app that you can download. This also has some tools on it. So not only does it talk about what NAP is and have some self-study quizzes, but there's also a tool that if you were in the middle and you had to take a vote, and we've already talked about 2/3 vote, majority vote, you know, there are some 4/5 votes and things like that, but you could just actually put in how many members are there voting, what's the vote you need. So there's some real helpful tools. They're kind of fun. If you're sitting in traffic or you're waiting at somewhere, and pull out your app and you can do a little quiz, it's kind of fun. So now I'm going to try something. There are also websites available. And I'm going to show you this one on Jim Slaughter, but there's Jurassic Parliamentarian, there's Perfect Rules, and then of course the WWW Parliamentarian Organization is the NAP study guide. But this is just an example. So I'm going to do a new share, see how this works. So this is Jim Slater's his website. But what I really like about it, he's got some articles on there, and then he has like a brain teaser. And I want to tell you, last month's brain teaser, when I was putting this together, was a lot more fun than this one, but it's kind of fun. So these brain teasers, I'll just scroll down a little more. There's 5 levels of difficulty. And this one, he puts one up every month. The brain teaser of the month is. So this one is a difficulty level 4. And the question is, may the chair simply place a motion before the body? I'll give you a second to think. So may the chair simply place a motion before the assembly? And his answer is normally no. However, there are situations or instances where members are generally in favor, and we kind of talked about that, like unanimous consent. And so you could ask, is there objection to taking a 10-minute recess or something like that? That's just an example of one of the websites. And now I need to go back to my presentation. Ooh, I think that worked. Did you guys like that? That's kind of cool, right? Okay. The next, so these are just some websites, and again, I'll share my PowerPoint with my point with you. I mentioned this is the study guide. So this is the Robert's Rules in brief. So if you wanted to take the membership test for NAP, this one is a study guide that you can download, you can print out, we use it as a, sometimes I take questions from there, and this is a QRS code. So there's 2 membership test options. One is based on the Big Book, one is Robert's Rules in brief. And I don't know why you wouldn't just do the one in brief, but it's options. Okay, so let's practice. Today you've had a lot of presentations, and I'm a little ahead of my notes. So this one is on PATS. And I'm going to ask you, you can put your answers in the chat. You can volunteer an answer, and I'm going to let Josh call on you if you want to raise your hand. So the first one is, this was Pat's, and she talked about Pat's was the agenda, or I got to get my, so Pat's was staying on track. So the question is, which items may be found in the standard order of business? Is it A, approval of minutes, reports, and new business? B, opening ceremonies, old business, and awards? Or C, adoption of motions, codes of ethic, and inspirations? And Josh, is there an answer?
We've got a couple answers. The majority are answering A.
And you're right. A is correct. So the standard order of business, it's just another name for agenda. Number 2, what does debate mean? Discussion on the merits of the motion, disagreement about the motion, or argument between two members? I'm ready for you, Josh.
Most people are answering A.
You're right. Thank you. And that's that. See, you guys are really probably smarter than like you think. Now, this one wasn't quite covered, but it's how long may a member speak each time he or she has the floor? And this is according to Roberts, the RONR. So is it 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes? Any guess?
Most people are answering C.
C. And it is. And 10 minutes is a very long time, unless you're doing a presentation, then it goes by fast. But you really want your own rules, especially if you're in a convention, to have a rules that would say, no, like 3 minutes or 2 minutes or something that's less than 10. So this one is the new word I hope we learned today, or people knew. In debate, a member's speech must relate to the motion under discussion. Therefore, the remarks must be germane, dilatory, or confident.
It looks like everyone is answering A.
Yes, love it. You can impress all your friends today with, see if you can work germane into a sentence sometime today or this weekend. You can have tomorrow too. Okay, so Miriam did fitness training, and one of her questions, the first was, what do you say to properly make a motion? Do you say, I'd like to make a motion? I think that we should. Okay, a little typo there. Or I move that.
It looks like this lesson got across. Everyone is answering C.
Yes, I move that. Okay, a second means the seconder agrees with the motion. The seconder wants the motion to be considered. The seconder does not want the motion to be defeated.
Most people are answering B.
That's right. So you don't really have to agree with it. You just think like, okay, this is important enough, we should talk about it. Okay, what is this next step after a motion is moved and seconded? A, the chair states the motion. B, the members debate the motion. Or C, the members vote on the motion.
Looks like everyone is answering A.
You're right. They need to state the motion. And the reason is just so that it's truly clear what people are voting on and talking about. You know, sometimes if a person moves the motion and seconded and the chair's like, is there any debate? They're like, okay, I'm not really sure. I wasn't paying attention. So it's really important that the chair would state the motion. Okay, what is a secondary amendment? And I'm kind of thinking we covered this. Is it an amendment to the amendment? Is it voting down an amendment? Or is it an amendment in the third degree?
People are answering A.
Right. It is amendment to the amendment, and that's as far as you go. You need to take a vote. Okay, so shortcuts. This was David's. The motion to send a motion to a committee for further study or redrafting is called the motion to A, postpone to a certain time, B, commit or refer, or C, postpone indefinitely.
People are answering B.
You're right, commit or refer. And then what does the chair say when seeking unanimous consent? Do they say A, do you object to? Or B, is there any objection to? Or C, is it okay with everyone if we do this?
People are answering B.
Yes, B. And then we have Robert, wear good shoes. So what does the chair say after the secretary reads the minutes? Are there any additions, corrections, or changes to the minutes? B, has everyone read the minutes? Or C, are there any corrections to the minutes?
Most people are answering C.
I think Pat covered that too. When the draft minutes are sent to everyone before the meeting, A, they must still be read out loud. B, they do not have to be read unless a member insists. Or C, they are never read in the meeting.
Most people are answering B.
Okay, and this is just another little, these are all questions. I've got two more left, but usually the longest answer is also the one to pick. So if you were ever taking this test and you weren't sure which one to choose, pick the longest answer. That's kind of how parliamentarians do it. Okay, so this is again, if a federal, state, or local law conflicts with an organization's rules, we didn't quite cover this one either, but you can think about this. A, the organization must go to court to resolve the issue. B, the law supersedes any conflicting provisions in the organization's rules. Or C, the organization must follow its own rules.
People are answering B.
And you're right. The law supersedes any rules. You can't really vote, like Miriam's example, you can't really vote to smoke in the cafeteria if it's against the law. And then the last is the highest level of rules contained in a document of the organization is called A, your special rules of order, B, your bylaws, or C, your standing rules.
B.
Yes. Okay, so that completes my part. And I want to say, if you got 100%, you are ready for the membership test, because all of those questions came out of the membership test. And you guys are a lot smarter than you think you are. Sometimes it gets kind of scary. And I will be honest, when you get to those further levels of credentialing, it is kind of scary. But to become a member and to be a parliamentarian, you just need to show you have basic knowledge. And those are some questions. So we are now, I don't even know. Oh, wow. I think I'm right on time. Nope, I am over. Oh my God.
You're just a tiny bit over, but we're doing great. We have time for questions. And let me, while I have everybody's attention, if you are anxious to receive some of the handouts, I put them into the chat, and you can scroll back and find some. And actually, I'll put some more. And there's a resource sheet that I haven't put into chat yet that we did. We thought people would find it helpful. So it's just various resources and websites and that. And take a look. If not helpful, that's the end of that. Don't need to keep it. So I'm going to load that one into the chat in case you are so inspired that you're going to study all afternoon. I can just see that coming. So you're just so excited to learn more Robert's rules. And truly, you guys are ready for the exam. This is you did great. So let me load that into chat while Lucy, if you want to see if anybody has any general questions.
Yeah. Josh, are there any questions, or you can unmute yourself if you have a question?
I'd like to answer a question that Kay had that was in the chat. She asked whether to put the names of people who attend a meeting in the minutes, because Robert doesn't necessarily stipulate that. There are two answers. If it's a large organization, for example, a convention, you wouldn't have 100 names in the minutes. But yes, in a small organization that meets, let's say, with 16 members or 10 members, it's quite often at the beginning, it'll say, President so-and-so called a meeting to order and the secretary was there. That's because two people need to be there to have a legitimate meeting, somebody who's presiding and the secretary. Second of all, you do usually list the members who are there, just for good, history, if nothing else. You'll list the name of the members who are there. You don't necessarily list the members who are absent, just the ones who are there, but yes, those do often go in the minutes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And then I did see a question, what does the membership test cost? There is no cost to the membership test, but there is a cost associated with joining NAP. On the other hand, you have access to, other than the apps, which I think you can download, there are many workshops and conferences and discounts and buying books and things like that. So. Oh, and Josh just put in the link. So thank you, Josh.
There was also a question about renewal, and at just the basic level of being a member, there is no renewal needed other than paying your dues. If you do become a credentialed parliamentarian like an RP or a PRP, then it's a 6-year renewal period.